This mom got her arms ripped apart and she ended up dying, sadly, from a pit bull who was attacking her 4 year old son. And, I skimmed the story a little bit and it's pretty crazy. And the thing that you really got to understand, too, right, is that dogs are just animals and typically like a specific breed doesn't necessarily make them worse than another breed, right? Like a pit bull is not really any different really than like a chihuahua, right? Now, of course, there's always some bad apples, just like there's some bad apples in humans. But typically, the reason why a dog or a person would like go nuts, right, is because they were treated constantly like crap, right? Now, I'm not saying that she did this because apparently it seems like she loved animals. But that being said, this pit bull definitely was probably abused before, right? Because now look, a pit bull, like body type wise, they are built to basically tear things apart, right? Like their bodies are built to be super strong and just tear things. Like they are like a little tiny tank, right? But if you treat them right, they're going to typically be very well behaved, right? Now they might be a little bit more prone to possibly like reacting aggressively more so than another breed, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to do something like this. So this is really something that you got to understand like first and foremost, like just because it's a pit bull doesn't mean that's the reason why this happened, right? Sometimes animals just get abused so much that they no longer act okay. But let's get right into the story. So, a Wisconsin mother had her arms ripped apart by a pit bull while saving her 4 year old son from the dog and later died. Now, when I was first reading this story, right, it sounded like this random dog just like broke into her house and started like attacking her kid, right? But this was their dog, so keep that in mind. So Heather Pingle, 35, was savagely attacked at her home in Bowler, northwest of Milwaukee, on December 8th. The boy's father got home to find her lying on the bathroom floor. She said, "I have no arms and I'm dying," said Pingle's sister, Shannon Pickle, to the Wausau Daily Herald. Heather's son was found sitting on a chair in the dining room with blood pouring from his leg. The mother, too, had spent a week in the hospital trying to recover from her extensive injuries before she was pronounced dead Thursday, her family said. So she suffered kidney failure and had both her arms amputated. Pingo's son, Damien, received 70 stitches to his legs after being bitten by the dog and was later released from the hospital. The family believes the attack unfolded after Pingle found the dog biting her son. The pit bull likely turned on her as she tried to shield the boy from further injuries, Kim said. Shane Bernard, Pingo's boyfriend and the father of the injured boy, returned home to find the dog still attacking the mom in the bathroom. "We don't know how long she was in there fighting him off," Shannon Pingle said. Bernard, who was also bitten during the ordeal, told cops that he pulled the dog off Pingle, dragged it out to the yard, and shot it. Pingle's injuries were so severe she was unable to give authorities a full account of what happened before she died. And her sister said the dog had previously shown signs of aggression. "My sister has the biggest heart for animals and just couldn't get rid of it. Her heart was too big and they thought they could fix him," Shannon said. Right? So, again, based off this statement, right, this dog was probably a rescue dog or was, probably going to be put down in a shelter and they decided to save them, right, to adopt them. And we can probably allege what probably happened, right? So let's go down this point of view to those who end up, watching this and listening. You could also give your thoughts as well as to what you think might happen. But this is probably what happened. That they probably adopted this pit bull from, a shelter. The pit bull was probably not in the greatest condition. It was probably from a home that probably severely abused it, right? Making it a little bit more aggressive or reactionary to things, right? And so, what probably happened is that this dog probably already had, attitude problems. And while it had attitude problems, it decided to, what probably happened, right, is that they tried to change the behavior of the dog without really any improvement. And one day, she found that her son, basically getting bitten, getting attacked, probably because her son probably ended up, maybe just like playing around, goofing off, like slapping the dog or like poking the dog, right? Not thinking anything of it, right? Because, a kid's not going to think anything of it, right? And, typically for any dog, if they interact with like, like a baby or a kid or something, or like something smaller than it, it's not going to just automatically attack it, right? But if a dog has been constantly abused and they end up getting like poked or like gently slapped or pushed or all that kind of stuff, the dog might end up having some like weird form of like PTSD and then react really badly, immediately aggressively, and just start attacking, right? So this could be due to the dog's previous home situation where it was probably abused a bunch, which caused it to react very badly to mundane things and basically ended up causing all of this, right? Because look, if a pit bull specifically, that like style of breed, right? If that dog wants to beat you up, it's probably going to beat you up, right? It's kind of like a tiny bear. Like you're not really going to have much success with beating it up, right? It's literally like just pounds of muscle, right? With like, you know, massive teeth, right? That could just rip apart your flesh. So you got to keep in mind that dogs, even though, the whole saying, they're men's best friend and all that kind of stuff, they are still animals to their core. So if these dogs, who are still animals, feel like they are threatened or that you pose a threat to it, they're going to protect themselves, right? Now, again, for the most part, dogs are just going to love you, right? Like, dogs can take a lot of abuse from a lot of people. And it's really sad to see. You see these like news stories all the time. You see those like really sad ads, that like trying to like bring up some emotion out of you and all that kind of stuff, right? But dogs are very forgiving creatures. So for a dog to end up reacting this way means that this dog was abused probably nonstop, right? Before coming to this household. Now, this is with the assumption that they did nothing to this dog, right? We're going with that assumption to just keep this, story simple, and we're going to assume that like yes, she is, someone who just loves animals and wants to take care of animals and all that kind of stuff, right? Because there are a lot of people who just love animals, and regardless of how bad acting an animal is, they want to just take care of them. There's a lot of people out there. You might be one of them when you listen to this. The only thing that you really got to understand is that if a dog ends up crossing the point of attacking a human, you really can't walk that back, right? Because then it gets into this really weird power dynamic where now the dog views you as lesser than it, right? It views it in its mind that, like, oh, I'm the leader of the pack, not you. I'm not going to listen to anything you say. I'm not going to do anything you say. I already know I could beat you up, so why would I ever listen to you? And also, by the way, I tasted you, so I know that if I wanted to, and if I'm hungry, I could just eat you as well. Because again, you got to keep in mind, dogs are still animals, right? There's wild dogs out there that will literally tear apart people because they gotta survive, right? So just keep that in mind. That being said, in terms of like finances, because we always talk about finances, I'm pretty much assuming that she probably was not the breadwinner in the family, but hopefully that the dad did have some sort of life insurance policy with her, because then this could obviously take care of the funeral costs. This could potentially also pay for, any of these surgeries that the kid's probably going to keep on having because his leg was probably really messed up, right? So, this is the thing, right? Like, let's say, like, this is why life insurance, health insurance is important for like crazy, like, unpredictable moments and like this, right? If you have good health insurance, right, you could end up having surgeries, taking care of yourself, taking care of your family, all that kind of stuff, right? And yeah, it's going to cost a lot, but you definitely always got to have health insurance. No matter who you are, no matter what your age is, you have to have health insurance so that you could pay for things when things go super bad for you, like situations like this. And the reason why you want to have health insurance, if people rely on you, is because of potentially situations like this, right? So let's say the dad did have health insurance on the wife, or the wife just had health insurance on herself and whatnot, right? Even if she's not making an income, what she provides to the household is expensive, right? The amount of time, right? The amount of time taking care of her kids, the amount of time taking care of what, like maybe other animals that they might have, the amount of time that she's taking care of the house, the amount of time that she's doing all this other stuff, right? And that's if she's not even working. If she's working and she's contributing like 50% to the household or even more, then it's even more important to have life insurance to cover that, right? Because just because if you're like a single mom and stuff, right? That's a lot of work that has to be replaced if you were to be gone, or would have to be taken care of if you were to be gone immediately, kind of thing, right? Like suddenly, right? Like daycare is not going to be cheap, no matter what. Even if you have family members and all that kind of stuff, right? It's going to cost you something, right? So you got to keep in mind that life insurance doesn't just replace the income that is lost from someone passing away, but it also helps not necessarily replace, but substitutes to an extent of the responsibilities that the person was doing that people relied on. So, for example, let's do a completely different situation, right? Let's say that the 4 year old kid, right, ending up losing both of his legs, and so now he's basically bedridden for potentially most of his life, right? Let's just say that, right? But the mom ended up passing away as well, right? But basically, the son has become crippled. Well, the life insurance could technically substitute, right, the caretaking that is going to be vastly expensive on taking care of the kid, right? Now, of course, the life insurance, if they have life insurance, would be used that way anyways, probably with daycare, with medical, which is going to last for a while, right? But you just got to keep that in mind. Like, this is just the reason why you don't expect anything to necessarily happen, but you always want to plan for the worst and always hope for the best, right? Because I mean, this is like a really freak situation. Like, this is not like a common occurrence, right? It's a freak situation. It is a horrible situation. I feel bad for the family that this happened to. And it's sad that this situation couldn't be or wasn't avoided, right? Feel free to give your thoughts, but this is the reason why it's also good to set up your life in a specific financial way so that if something were to happen like this, it is brutal, but it's not going to be financially brutal, which would allow you the freedom to mourn and just mourn, right? Because a lot of problems with situations like this, that the money aspect, like the damage from the money cost, can be so dramatic that you are lost in just paying your bills because you didn't have life insurance, because you didn't have health insurance, that now mentally, emotionally, you're so screwed up you can't even mourn like the loss of a loved one. So just keep that in mind. If you want to learn how to get out of debt and master your money, go to 40inbucks.com. Feel free to give your thoughts down below. This is this is a really sad situation in every side.